We are back. The Simple Green U.S. Open of Handball, WPH Race for 8, stop number 1, men's semifinals with two Irishmen, Charlie Shanks from Belfast in the north of Ireland, going up against Paul Brady, the gunner, one of our greatest champions of all time. And they are on the court right now here on ESPN and the Watch ESPN app. My name is Dave Vincent. Thanks for watching that pregame show. As we now flip it out here to the live broadcast booth, Dave Fink and yours truly, Dave Vincent, as we get this one underway.
Dave, we heard Charlie Shanks in his interview say, you know, I got to go out there and play my game, forget about Paul Brady, and just make my shots. I think it's very interesting here, Dave. Charlie Shanks goes into the court, stands right in the middle of the court, dead center, and starts working on his serve. That's not typical. Generally, guys stay one guy to the left, one guy to the right. Charlie Shanks is saying, I don't really care who you are. I'm going to stand here right in the middle of this court. I'm going to take over the court. I'm going to do whatever I feel like I need to do to get myself ready for this match. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing, Dave. It's just interesting, particularly against a guy like Paul Brady, who you'd think you'd show quite a bit of deference towards.
Yeah,
but instead, Charlie says, you know what, I'm going to just stand right here in the middle of the court.
No, I absolutely agree with you. In fact, there's something to say about that, too. You know, in tennis, when you're in a major, you'll see the two hit the ball back and forth, you know, as they warm up. And, Dave, you do that all the time as well. But when a player goes out there, and that's been the etiquette in handball, but when a player goes out there and takes center court and does their thing, and you have to work around them when you're warming up, they're so focused, they don't even care what you're worried about or thinking, you know? And the other player has to.
Well, I would say, Dave, that a lot of people would tell you you have to stand up to the bully, but in fact, you'd never want to stand up to the bully. There's a reason he's the bully, and I don't think you want to make Paul Brady any more motivated or mad than he already is. I think you go in there and act like you're best buddies and hope that, you know, he gets off to a slow start because of it. I don't think you need to fire up Paul Brady by taking away his warm-up and basically disrespecting him, standing right in the middle of the court.
Well, it's certainly sending a message. Charlie Shanks now was number 1 on our tour a couple years back. Paul Brady has not been number 1 on the Race for 8 tour at any time over the last, now we're heading into the 4th season. So, you know, going into 4 seasons, our current 4-time world champion has never had that number 1 ranking.
First season, he didn't play any events. He had the broken finger. The second season, he only played 2 events. He won both of them. Last season, he had his most starts, starting 3 events, won 2 of them, had one of his losses, only one in the last 9 years, in the quarterfinals of the Players' Championship, which is really surprising. And his other loss, Dave, was in 2008 on this very court in the quarterfinals against Luis Moreno, who is our current number 1, and at the time was just 18 years old.
Yeah, so he's probably has the best WPH power ranking record of all time, and yet he's never been number 1 with the WPH. Now, could Paul Brady get there with a win here today?
No, he cannot get here with a win here. Possibly, depending on how Luis Moreno does here and then also in Tucson in just 2 weeks. Paul Brady's also entered in Tucson. If Luis Moreno were to lose today and lose early in Tucson and Paul Brady wins both, he could take that number 1 ranking. But, you know, Dave, Luis Moreno, 17-4 last season, 2 titles, was in the finals of a couple other events. He's the steadiest player that we have. He plays all the events. He's won nearly half of them. We've had 21 race events, and he's won 9. Paul Brady has won 4 in just 5 starts. But, you know, the number 1 ranking, Dave, comes down to not only winning but also consistency and participation.
Dave, I agree with that. What do you say about, not trying to turn the subject a little bit, but we can stay on what you're talking about, having Paul Brady and Charlie Shanks, the bottom bracket, play first in the semifinals this morning? The tournament organizers decided to put that semifinal first. Usually, and it's been a tradition that since we're on the subject of Luis Moreno, facing Nati Alvarado, that would be the first. Luis Moreno is the current number 1 player in the world. He should be afforded more rest time, even though it might be an hour and a half. That's just been a traditional part of the sport. Why did they decide to allow the bottom bracket to go first and Paul Brady's bracket to get more rest?
Well, I know from a viewership standpoint why they would do it, because Luis Moreno and Nati Alvarado is a much more marquee matchup in the semifinals for the fans here. Well, I think Nati brings
for the local fans, it is. For the international
fans,
which will be vast, this match right here will have, you know.
Probably true, but, you know, if you're talking about locally, and, you know, the U.S. Open of tennis would do the same thing. They have 2 semifinals. They're going to choose whichever match is going to draw better ratings, because the second match will be in prime time, and that's just how it's always been done.
Test, one,
I
two,
didn't
three.
realize that that they did put the top bracket
All right,
first
ladies
all
and
the time. I
gentlemen,
didn't know
we're
that,
about to
but
begin our first
I don't think there's
semifinal
really anything
match.
wroong with it, and I don't think an hour or two
Serving
of extra
first,
recovery
we have
time is going to make
Paul
much of a
Brady.
difference.
We have the announcements here from our referee. Let's go to that now. Round of applause for Paul Brady, the gunner from Ireland.
And returning serve, Charlie Shanks.
Our referee is Abraham Montijo from Tucson, Arizona. Charlie Shanks shaking hands with Paul
We have
Brady.
2 linesmen, Anthony Celesto and John Alvarado Bike.
Charlie has a phenomenal
Good
record
luck.
on this court, Dave. He's been in the
Zero,
finals every
serving
tournament he's
zero.
played on this court in the last 3 years, including the Nationals and the Simple Green U.S. Open. Hasn't yet won a championship on this court, Dave,
Short.
but has put together an incredible resume of wins to include Luis Moreno, Sean Lenning,
Second
Emmett
serve.
Peixoto.
Side out.
That was a really good interview we had with Charlie Shanks yesterday after his quarterfinal.
0-0.
He did reveal a lot of things. Felt like he wasn't getting the respect in Ireland for some of the wins
Side
and
out.
things that he did over here in the United States. And he says, I'm sort of like, you know, invisible sometimes. I come to these events, I'm not seated as high. I was, you know, ranked #1. Paul Brady's never been ranked
0-0.
#1, you know? Yeah, he does want to prove something. That's the reason why he said it this weekend here at the U.S. Open.
Well, it's interesting, Dave,
Point.
because he's never won a major tournament in Ireland. Yet he comes here and
1-0.
becomes the #1. Just 2 weeks ago, he lost in the quarterfinals of a tournament in Ireland. I think, Dave, he might feel less pressure playing here.
Side out.
Perhaps he doesn't feel the expectations that others put
0,
on him
serving 1.
when he's here as opposed to being in Ireland.
Side out.
You heard Charlie say, Dave, that
1 serving
he
0.
can't afford to start as slow as he did yesterday, so you see him coming out, hitting his power serve immediately, as opposed to working his way in.
Side out.
And that was a punch return that looked like it was going to catch the side wall and come back to the middle of the court, but instead it caught that crack and just jumped straight. Paul Brady had no chance.
0-1.
Boy, Paul is so dangerous
Side
from
out.
that position on the court with the left hand.
You know, Dave, every player that's ever played Paul Brady will tell you he just hits the
1-0.
ball just a little bit harder than anyone else, and it completely takes you out of your comfort zone. Not only does it not give you the opportunity to set up for your shots, but it also wears you down quickly.
Nice shot.
Side
Charlie
out.
Shanks boxes out Paul. Dave, Charlie took one step up there with that left foot to close Paul so he couldn't get in front of him.
Yeah.
And his right foot so far back, Paul can't go around him, and then he goes to that left corner.
And remember, Charlie's one of the
0-1.
tallest guys out here. He's about 6'3". And that's can be an advantage if you know how to use your body. The court is only 20 feet wide.
Players that don't know how to use their body will complain about that. And look at that little
Side out.
methodical left-handed kill shot from Paul Brady, modified Irish whip.
Paul's the greatest front runner
1,
I've ever
serving
seen, Dave.
0.
If he gets off to a 5 or 6 point lead, he closes out games quickly.
Short.
Paul looked absolutely unstoppable yesterday in his quarterfinal, Dave. I know he had a slow
Second
start
serve.
in his first round, but yesterday flawless.
Side out.
Paul's hitting the Z serve on his second serve. Both times he's hit it, it's come up way
0,
too short.
serving 1.
And Charlie Shanks has ended the rally with his left-handed return.
Side out. 1-0.
3 airs already, Dave, for Charlie Shanks.
Yeah, but it's only 1-0.
Short.
I mean, we played 7 minutes here, and there's only 1 point.
Second.
It's the best 2 out of 3 to 21, tiebreaker to 11. You know, there's always early butterflies.
Point.
I actually don't look at the airs as being butterflies. I look at Charlie trying to hit shots that maybe aren't in his comfort zone. He tried to kill from 35 feet, with Paul Brady in front of him. I don't think
Two,
that's the right
serving
shot
0.
for Charlie. But that's what happens when you play Paul Brady. You feel so much pressure that you don't go for shots that maybe you would normally play.
Point.
Dave, just being in the court with Paul Brady a few times, having played him,
3-0.
he's got these incredible hands. And when he gets his hand on the ball, he can do something with it.
Short.
He doesn't just get it back. He's able to float it or flip it into a spot where, wait a minute, I thought I was in control of this rally. Now I'm running back. I'm in the backcourt, 38 feet away. I was supposed to have a setup when he went down there to one knee or
Side
on the
out.
ground.
Yeah, he's able to flip that ball with letting the ball kind of high lie out of his hand from
Yeah,
the
that's a
palm
good way of
out his
putting it.
fingers,
Yeah.
and he does it in such a effortless way. Other players
0,
would try to do
serving
that
3.
and hurt their arms, you know, or your shoulder. He knows how to do it. And also, just a complete physical specimen.
I believe, Dave, he has the perfect size, height, and build for handball.
Timeout, Paul. That's your first. Score is 1-3.
I've
1
seen
minute.
Paul do this before. Dave start matches and just 3 or 4 points in, he's unhappy with his glove, and then he goes out and changes a glove.
Yeah, it's interesting.
It's strange
here.
to me.
It's strange, but you know, he's had that finger problem, and he told me I asked him what is his biggest regret in handball when he was in Tucson just about 3 or 4 days ago. And he always takes your questions different than the way you ask them. I was trying to get to hear him say, I wish that I would be more social. That's what I'm trying to lead him into. But instead he said, my biggest regret is I played Gaelic football about 3 weeks ago, and I smacked my thumb.
Oof.
And I re-injured that finger. Now look at this. Look what's on his hand.
Oh, that's bad.
This is the #1 player in the world having to do this to his hand here. And so I believe what he's doing on this, and it's now being kind of verified by video, he's re-injured himself. And he has to call a timeout to fix what's going on. This isn't a glove issue. This is a re-injury of that finger that he shattered just a few years ago.
Now, Dave, I jammed my thumb about 4 years ago at this tournament, and I couldn't even hit the ball the next day. I mean, there was nothing I could do. His injury seems a lot worse than mine was. But remember, Paul Brady won the All-Ireland Championships with a broken finger, 21-1 in the second game. He had to take a year off after that, but Dave, that does not look good. And that doesn't bode well for this match or if he wins this tomorrow.
Yeah, this is one of those things where I feel I'm in a position where I can't talk about those.
Well, you just did.
Issues. Well, it's obvious now because it was revealed by the video, but
So that's the second secret that you've ever kept. Number one being that he was in Tucson.
Well, there's another one.
Week. Wow. So you've got 3. This must just be killing you.
No, actually,
I
like that third one.
Wow.
But so he's in a position here, I believe, where he's trying to doctor that hand. Now Charlie knows as well what the problem is. So you're going to see some serves to Paul Brady's left. There's one of them right there.
Look at that, Dave. And I've experienced that kind of injury with my thumb, and I know that swing that he just made. You're trying anything you can to avoid hitting it on your thumb. And he'd say, well, a pro handball player would never hit the ball on his thumb. They're always going to hit it on the sweet side, but it's not really true.
Yeah, Paul said that his biggest regret was playing football 3 weeks ago. I asked him about Gaelic football. He is the equivalent of playing in the NFL here in the United States and being a pro handball player at the same time. He's a top Gaelic football player. He said that about 3 weeks ago he was playing. He hit a guy's shirt with his hand and kind of snapped it, and then we fell to the ground. Another guy just ran right over it with his spikes. I said, well, why don't you stop playing? He said, I can't. He has goals in handball, but he said, I just can't. I have one more good year of Gaelic football, and then.
Dave, maybe Charlie Shanks goes to an overhand lob to the left because that would be the hardest shot to return, although he's having a hard time with this.
Oh, why change the serve? He's hitting that power serve over to Paul's left, and as Charlie did to start this match when he was warming up, that moxie that he had standing in the middle of the court, he knows that Paul's hurt, and he doesn't care. He's going to go after the...
Oh, he smells blood. He's going for it. And Dave, when you have an injured finger or an injured arm, you don't even play well with the other arm because now you're favoring and you're thinking, well, I have to do more with this shot than I normally would because if it comes back to my injured hand, I'm in trouble. So that forces you to make different shots during rallies.
Second.
I know, Dave, you played with a bad elbow on your right arm, so when the ball comes to your left, you're trying to do more than you normally would.
Point.
Yeah, and sometimes it does work out in your favor because it centralizes your thought process and says, I can only use this hand, so I have to make the best of it.
4, serving 5.
I think Paul is such a great warrior and champion.
Yeah.
He can actually funnel some of that energy toward making his right even better. I don't know how he can do that, but it works both ways. I've seen it both ways.
Second serve.
I mean, nothing faster than an elk running. But an elk with only 3 legs, because a hunter shot him, is even faster than an elk on 4 legs. So I think you got Paul Brady here as that wounded elk.
I didn't see anything happen. So Paul's appealing a bad bounce. I did not see a bad bounce.
I didn't either, Dave.
Me neither.
Looked to me like it hit above the door.
One agreed with my call. It's a side out.
Our referee, Dave Abraham Montijo,
4,
who lives in
serving
Tucson.
5. Sorry. 5,
Also a
serving
top
4.
16 pro. For those of you
Short.
watching, you might be saying, wait a minute, everyone lives in Tucson. Well,
Second serve.
a lot of us do, and we never talk to each other.
No.
We do at tournaments, but never locally.
No, Tucson has just become a hotbed for handball, and, you know.
Even when we play each other, we don't talk.
Luis
Point.
Moreno, our current #1, lives there. Sean Linning, who was #2 at some point. Dave, you were #2
serving
last year on the
4.
rankings. You live in Tucson. So what happens is these players will come and actually make it their resident. We had Katrina Casey, the #1 women's player, stay there for the summer. #5 women's player also there. Paul Brady wants to retire there, he said. And that's why he came for a Zen treatment
Point.
at the golf course or wherever he was staying.
Is that your third secret, where he was staying?
No, it has something to do
It's
with
much
you.
bigger than that, isn't it?
Something to do with you and a pink slip.
Wow.
7,
That doesn't
serving
sound
4.
too secretive. I think everyone
Well,
knows what
this-
those two
well,
things mean
Don't
when they're
read
put
into
together.
it too much.
Oh, okay.
But just look up what a pink slip is, and you might
Point.
get the
Yeah.
answer to the secret. Paul skips that ball in. Shanks now at 8-4.
I have never, ever seen Paul look like this on the court.
8, serving 4. Short.
Well, this is what happens when you play 2 sports. Don't think
Second.
that Deion Sanders or Bo Jackson didn't get injured
I know all
in their
about that.
respective sports
I know it.
when they were crossing over. Paul Brady, he knows what the risk is, and he's taking it.
You know what happens, Dave, when you play 2 sports is that you never have a break.
Point.
Well, Paul told me this, which is pretty interesting. I said, well, why would you do that? And he said, because I play Gaelic football,
9-4.
I'm as good as I am in handball. I can't leave it. So I tend to agree that you can't just eliminate it, because that's where he got some of this physical fitness. I mean, most of it, you would have to say.
You see Charlie just peppering every ball to that left hand.
Side out.
Paul Brady, Dave, even when he swings out, he doesn't have the pinpoint control because he's got that device and the tape around his thumb. It doesn't allow you to have the same control and allow you to let the ball roll
4,
through your
serving
hand
9.
the way you normally would. I'd love to. And that's a rare error from Charlie, who I believe is the best in the sport at that revolving door kill. But I'd love to hear,
5,
Dave,
serving 9.
what some of these fans or players
Short.
watching are thinking right now. Do they know Paul Brady's hurt?
Well, they know now.
Well, I'm talking about the
Second.
people in the stands, Dave. They don't have headsets.
Well, he didn't hide it when he he put that tape on during the timeout. Here's a big setup for Paul with that right hand. He
Nice.
doesn't get it past Charlie. Charlie's really having to work hard here. Paul with a stiff arm with that left paddle.
How is Charlie still in this rally?
Uh-oh, this is going to be bye-bye time, I thought, for Charlie there.
Side
Dave,
out.
that's very rare when Paul Brady has an opportunity to end a rally and ends up losing the rally. He had 2 just huge setups right up at the foot fault line, which is only 16 feet from the front wall with Charlie behind him, and he wasn't able to put them away.
9, serving 5.
Dave, I believe this injury mentally is affecting Paul also.
I'm not reading into it yet.
I just know, Dave.
Replay.
That should be an avoidable, but it's not called by the referee. I don't know how Paul can just hold his ground. If we could take a look at the replay, you'd probably see what I'm talking about. Avoidable for those that don't play handball is the opponent
Timeout,
needs
Charlie.
to get
That
out of
is
the
your
way
first.
in
We
order
have
for
9, serving
Yeah.
5. 1 minute.
his partner to, the opponent to actually make a clear path to the front wall. Even if it's on purpose or not on purpose, it can be called. Now you'll see Charlie here. Paul moves into, I just don't know where Charlie's able to go there. And
Well,
Paul has to make an attempt to get out of the way.
Well, I think the way Charlie was set up, Paul thought he was going to go over his left shoulder and hit a three-wall shot. But Charlie doesn't play traditional shots.
But doesn't the rule book say you have to have a direct line to the front wall? Then that, how more direct could that be? But I understand. When obviously Charlie looked like he was going to do a high three-wall with the left up top to the left, and then he decided to pound it down the middle, and he went right into Paul's back.
But, you know, I've played Charlie a number of times, and he never, very rarely hits the shot that you expect him to hit. He plays a completely different style. You know, when you think he's going to hit to the ceiling, he hits an overhand tomahawk fist down the walls, and he actually hits his opponents with the balls quite a bit, because shots that you expect him to take, he doesn't. He hits the opposite, and, you know, you're not ready for it. I guess technically it would be unavoidable. I don't think it would ever be called, though, for that reason. In fact, we haven't seen one avoidable called this whole week, Dave. Not that there's been an egregious number, but at the same time, there have been some.
Yeah, on a match that you did not call yesterday, there was one, no argument from the player. Here it is, 9-5, Shanks serving, best 2 out of 3 to 21, tiebreaker to 11. It's the Simple Green U.S. Open of Handball, WPH Race for 8, stop number 1, powered by ESPN.
Speaking of power there, Dave, Paul Brady off the back wall.
Seeing Paul Brady hurt.
Wow,
oh,
what
nice
a rally.
shot right there.
Unbelievable.
But seeing Paul Brady injured like this, how much pressure does that put on the other semifinalists when they go, uh-oh, we need to step this up. We could possibly not have him in the other bracket. Now this match is more important, because now we're really vying for a little bit better chance of winning this championship. Does it get into their heads at all?
I'm going to get into that after this rally.
Okay, I can't wait. Because you know the two opponents in the other semifinals are very heady type guys who think a lot about things like that. You and I, not so much.
Strange air, but Dave, Luis Moreno is the kind of guy, he wants to play Paul Brady. He enters these tournaments hoping Paul Brady enters. In fact, when Paul Brady entered Houston last year in January, Luis Moreno said, I can't wait to play Paul Brady. I said, well, he just backed out today. And he was upset. He was actually mad that Paul Brady wasn't going to be there. Now, if Paul Brady's there, his chance of winning greatly diminish, yet he wants to play him. So I think Luis Moreno is going to play the same regardless, but he actually would probably prefer to play Paul Brady. That's how much he relishes the challenge.
Problem with him, though,
I'm not
but
sure.
that's also the same problem that he has, is that he always thinks ahead, and he doesn't quite make it there. Sometimes you look past your opponent, you just put yourself at a disadvantage. Not sometimes, a lot of the time. And there's a skip in. Charlie could have brought it 12-5, and Charlie serving. Let's circle this one on the scorecard.
But still, Dave, I mean, Charlie is in control here. Even with 7 errors, he still leads 12-5.
5, serving 12.
Dave, handball is not like tennis in that in a tennis match, you can win a match with 35, 40 errors, you know, but in handball, generally the top pros are making no
6,
more than 12 errors per match in 3 games.
Point.
A lot more rallies end in handball with actual kill shots or pass shots than errors.
7,
And that's because,
12.
Dave, in tennis, you've got hit the ball over the net. You got to keep it between the lines. There's a lot
Deal,
that goes into both of those things. In handball,
One agree, one in
it's pretty rare for a top player to hit the ball into the ground. And if you don't hit the ball in the ground, the rally continues until there's a kill shot. And that's an amazing left hand there from Charlie. And Dave, Paul's 2-wall Z serve has been completely ineffective. He's hit it 4 times. Charlie's won all 4 rallies. And we'll see if Paul makes an adjustment with that serve.
12, serving 7.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's creative. Now,
Point.
you remember when this game first started and you felt that Charlie was kind of pressing the issue just a little bit too much, going for shots that he really – that would be one of those shots that he wouldn't normally go for, but he's in the zone now because of the level of play that Paul's dropped because of that injury. Charlie's gained so much confidence because of that. Yeah. Now all of those little ones are going in.
I agree with you. Another error there from Charlie.
He makes a lot of errors, but he's also very streaky. He can get a lot of points on that serve.
Right.
7-13.
Charlie Shanks played in a tournament in Pittsburgh one time. Dave trailed 9-0 in the tiebreaker and ran out 11 straight points on his serve. I mean, that's the kind of thing that Charlie Shanks can do. He can do it against anybody. Dave had a chat with Charlie this morning while he was on the massage table, which is right next to our booth. He was, of course, face down in the massage bed, but he wanted to know about the schedule, Dave. He wanted to know about the prize money breakdowns. Very interested. He will not be going to Tucson in 2 weeks, but I think we'll be seeing some of him on the tour this year, at least 2 more stops. And he'll climb his way into the top 5 if he's able to make 2 more stops, particularly if he wins this match.
Yeah, that's interesting. Would a win here maybe make Charlie reconsider coming back to Tucson in a couple weeks?
It still would not put him in the top 8.
I see, okay. Well, it depends on if Charlie, oh wow, look at that. Get from Paul. Brady dives in. Paul extending himself here. Big setup here. Paul has a laser off that front wall, and look at that shot. Paul wins that on hustle. An amazing execution at the end. You don't see Paul dive too much. Now, here later in his career, you see a little bit more, but certainly the first, I would say, 7 years I watched Paul, I never saw him dive once.
Neither did I.
That was, what, twice in one play he overextended himself.
Now, Dave, Paul Brady hates to lose. I mean, every loss to him is just absolutely crushing, and I say every, I mean 2 in the last 9 years, but do you think he would hate to lose more to an Irishman than to an American? Because I think he would. Now, I know that every loss is a loss, but I think, Dave, that it would be more crushing for him to lose to Charlie Shanks than it would have been to Armando Ortiz.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it would be more crushing to lose to Robbie McCarthy and Charlie Shanks.
Right.
I think that he says to himself, I know eventually I'm going to lose to Killian Carroll. I know eventually I'm going to lose to maybe a Dervin Nash or a Martin Mulkerns, but I don't want to lose to these guys. I don't want to lose to Tony Healy. I don't want to lose to Owen Kennedy. I don't want to lose to Charlie Shanks, and I'm certainly not going to lose to Robbie McCarthy.
Second serve.
And Charlie Shanks on that hit list of guys he does not want to lose to. So you're going to see him play so hard that even if his hand is broken right now, he is going to play like there's no pain. Sure, the score might be a little different than what you're used to, but.
Short.
Now, Dave, I know you recall this match, 2010 All-Ireland final. Paul Brady trailed Charlie Shanks throughout much of that first game, ended up winning at 21-18, then won the second game 21-1.
Well, I think that's all about conditioning on Charlie Shanks' part and Paul Brady knowing how to seize the moment like he always seems to do in these big matches. Charlie's is winning, but Paul is hanging.
Very uncharacteristic shot selection there from Paul. Falling backwards. Normally that's a shot he would drive cross court, probably to wall, but he's forcing the issue there, Dave. He's not used to playing from behind. And it's a different animal. Now, I am used to playing from behind and finishing in behind. But for somebody like Paul Brady.
Well, you have to look at this. Because of that injury, Paul is having to take extra steps because there's certain shots that he would normally take with his left. He's just taking that extra step with his right. So he's actually putting in more court time here than he normally would. So Paul never seems to get tired. I don't know if I ever have, but it, you know, we know what the physicalness of this game can do to you. Look at Paul overplaying that shot from Charlie up front. Look at how far Paul gets up front. Look at that, Dave.
Great kill.
Point.
I will say, Dave, Paul Brady completely exhausted in New York last year in the finals, completely exhausted in Denver in the following tournament. I mean, he laid flat on his back for 5 minutes after 2 or 3 of those matches.
15-8.
Of course, he wasn't in as good a condition, I think, then as he is now, but, you know, he's, I think, susceptible, Dave. Particularly at a match at this pace where he's forced to move side to side in the backcourt. A lot of matches we don't see him moving outside of the service box area.
Well, I see that Paul is a quick recovery guy. I see that, yeah, he might look tired, and he did. He looked tired there in New York, but it wasn't something that carried over to the next match. He looked fresh every time he played. Some of these guys get tired, and you can see their legs buckle somewhere around the second game, and then they don't recover at all for the whole tournament. Paul, he's tired, calls a timeout. There's a dive right now, and they're cleaning up the floor. That's only benefiting Paul because he's going to come back just like he always has. You're watching the Simple Green U.S. Open of Handball, race for 8, stop number 1, men's semifinals. Paul Brady from Cavan, County Cavan, and Shanks up there near Belfast in the north of Ireland, both traveling over to the United States here in the semifinals. The other one will be Nadia Alvarado from the local area, Spring Valley Lake, California, near Hesperia, going up
15.
against Luis Moreno from Tucson, Arizona in the match after this on Watch ESPN. And the World Players of Handball's continuous feed. Wow, Paul just smoked that shot, and that's one of those shots that Paul can make right there, that if we all knew how to do that 2-wall pass, we would do it. But he hits it about 90 miles an hour.
Short.
It just clips the side wall late. Charlie just can't get to it. Paul seems to be able to do that from anywhere on the court.
Second. Point. 10-15. Short.
Score now is 10-15. Paul within striking distance.
Second serve.
Oh, how does Paul break to that ball?
Tremendous. Even
Paul
better.
should be able to track that down. Now, I mean, yeah, Charlie's shot was better, but Paul looked like that should have been double bounce. His arm might be hurt, but his legs aren't.
I really like what Charlie's doing when Paul throws that huge power at him. He just takes that short swing, uses his hand as a paddle, almost like a volley, and just redirects it. You see a lot of players trying to wind up and bang with him, and you can't do it. No one has that reaction time. So Charlie's adjusted. Now he's just taking that stiff arm, and even though he's not swinging, the ball is still coming off with power because he's using Paul's. And
score is 16-10, Dave.
Yeah.
Paul's going to have to play perfect handball from this point forward. Now, in the round of 16, Paul Brady was down 14-7 against Shorty Ruiz. Called a timeout, came back in, and Shorty never scored again.
10-16.
Now, there's a difference between Shorty and Charlie. But Paul does know how to put that Superman's cape on. Is he going to do it here? Wow,
Charlie has to be
sharp.
frustrated because Charlie had that set up. His favorite shot at 16-10 would have made it 17-10. He skipped it by an inch. Now all of a sudden, Paul Brady serving and appearing to be on the verge of a rally.
All right, here we go. 11-16. Point.
And now a fist bump for Paul Brady.
12-16. Short. Second serve.
Oh, nice get from Paul, and just a terrible return from Shanks, and Paul doesn't make him pay immediately. Let's see what happens here.
Hold it. Hold it. Replay that.
Charlie did not make much of an attempt at all, Dave. He kind of gave that brush. He wanted that replay there, and he got it.
12-16.
The score is 12-16.
That's either an avoidable or a no call, in my opinion. Probably a no call.
Well, it was a no call. Scoreboard should say 12.
Second.
Wow, that's
Side
amazing.
out.
We call that a mouse, Dave. It never bounced once. That's basically like a hole-in-one. I mean, you could go in the court and try and hit that shot 1,000 times and never hit it just that perfectly.
I'm so bad at this that the only time I've ever hit it was when I was serving. 16-12, Shanks going to 21. First one there gets the first game. Wow, nice shot there. Powered past Paul, now 17-12.
Shanks just has that unbelievable ability on the revolving door with his right hand to put the ball away. Doesn't matter where you are.
17-12.
Another nice shot from Charlie, not low enough though. Paul plays really close to the front wall. Charlie won't be able to
Side out.
get it, and he doesn't.
For a bad bounce here, and Paul's going to fiddle with his gloves again.
I didn't see it hit the door. Make your appeal. Did you see it hit the door? Did you see it? Nobody saw it, so it's a side out and a timeout by Paul. Score is 12-17.
I don't think Paul realizes
Guys,
that
can I
there's
check
such
your
a thing
gloves,
as a
please?
glove change, because he
sorry.
is
Just
changing
gloves?
his equipment here.
Okay, so we got 2
Could have
minutes.
used a glove change. I guess it won't matter. But Dave, I think it benefits Charlie Shanks that he's had a couple of really tough matches leading into this match. He was down 20-14 in his first round against Sean Lenning in the first game, came back and won that 21-20, cruising game 2. Then yesterday, got blown out in the first game, was down 19-5, had to really work hard, ended up winning that in tiebreaker 11-6. Paul Brady was on the court yesterday for 28 minutes, had no competition at all. I think Charlie Shanks is more match ready. Paul Brady has not played in a tournament since June. Charlie Shanks played in a tournament a week and a half ago in Ireland, lost an 11-9 tiebreaker. Then here, winning a close first round, winning a tiebreaker in the second round. He's got that tournament toughness now that maybe could be a huge edge.
Yeah, certainly so. You know, but it's easy to say that on paper, but you look at Paul Brady's win and loss record, and he kind of evaporates everything that would be traditional for everybody else. I mean, he has some system that you and I don't have.
Right.
He doesn't like to even reveal what that system is, and he still goes on and wins. 9 years, 2 losses. Try that for size. So everything that you think would be evident, not so much. We'll see if our director can cue up that real brief interview that we had with Paul Brady when he was driving to the airport in Tucson just a couple days back, when he was mentioning that he loved the U.S. Open. I'm not sure if he has
30
it.
seconds.
It's only about 30 seconds long, but he talks about the U.S. Open of Handball. We'll hopefully get that later on. But Paul Brady loves coming to this tournament, and he said it's like a vacation with the great tournament built into it at the same time. A guy that's as focused as him talking about vacation, it just doesn't happen very often. But that's really what this tournament is.
I don't think when he refers to a vacation, it's the same thing that most people would refer to as a vacation. A vacation to him is come to the court, stretch for 3 hours, win, go back to your hotel, stretch for 3 more hours, go to sleep. Make sure that all Facebook posts related to him are correct.
Right. You don't want to be off by a point, or else he'll correct you. Paul Brady now back into the server's box here. That was an extended timeout due to a glove change. So
12, serving
don't
17.
want the ball to slide in what is normally traditionally a court that the ball slides in. And Charlie just takes that timeout, and
Side out.
first ball back is a flat rollout, side out.
And that shot was right on the side wall.
17-12.
No, that was the degree of
shot.
difficulty was intense. Charlie made it look easy. Charlie puts that ball in a pretty good spot. Both of these guys, their defensive work is amazing.
Point.
And another point for Charlie Shanks.
Get 10 seconds. 18-12. Short.
It's a short ball, 18-12.
Second serve.
Simple Green U.S. Open of Handball And the men's semifinals of the bottom bracket. The two Irishmen, Paul Brady and Charlie Shanks. And that's a nice wide corner kill for Charlie Shanks. Gets another point.
$19, serving 12. I thought it took a true bounce off the front. I didn't see the ball deviate in any way. I didn't see a bad bounce. Call stand, so it's a side out.
Charlie tried to sell that just a little bit. Didn't
12,
get it.
serving 19.
Referee calling a really clean game here. 12-19. Oh, and a huge setup from Paul Brady, and he skips it right in the ground. That would have given him 13 and added more pressure to Shanks, but instead he
19,
skips
12.
it in.
Short, short, on the line. Second.
Wow, nice get from Charlie. Paul Brady takes it off the back wall, guns it up front. Charlie punches it with the left-handed fist. Paul gets it back to the front wall again.
Screen.
Paul again
Screen
gets that ball, but a screen call from the referee stops play, and a round of applause from the crowd.
$19-12.
Charlie Shanks 2 points away from taking out the world's #1, Paul Brady, in that first game. Paul dives, doesn't get it to that left corner enough. And there's another point now, 20-12. Charlie Shanks serving to take game #1. You're watching the Simple Green U.S. Open of Handball in beautiful Fountain Valley, California.
Okay, here we go.
Just 1 point away is Charlie Shanks from taking game #1. Hopefully we'll have
20 game points, serving 12.
our sideline reporter Dave Fink catch one of these guys for an interview.
Replay.
He is courtside. This is also race 4-8 stop
Replay,
number
20,
1.
serving 12.
First pro stop of the season. One of the biggest events of the
Short.
year is the first stop. And then another one of those
Second.
really big ones at the end called the Players Championship in Salt Lake City, 2015. All going to be broadcast on ESPN, and Charlie
First
does
game,
it, takes down
5 minutes.
Paul Brady, 21-12. Paul was in command, and then all of a sudden, Charlie Shanks just found a weakness, and it could very well be an injury from Paul Brady. Not quite sure, because Paul's never going to tell anybody on the record, but certainly there's something going on with that club of the gunner. When he took that timeout early on in the first game, it revealed a wrap that he was obviously trying to protect something on that hand. Could be a bone bruise, could be an injury from Gaelic football. And then Charlie Shanks takes game #1, 21-12. Our sideline reporter Dave Fink is going to try to get an interview. Hopefully
Dave,
we'll
I'm
hear
here
from him.
with.
In the meantime, let's
I'm
just
here
go
with
ahead and take
Fred
a
Lewis.
break. We'll be back in a couple minutes here from Los Caballeros Sports Village in Fountain Valley, California, where Charlie Shanks takes game #1 against Paul Brady, 21-12. We'll have the conclusion. Game #2 coming up next. Stick around here at Watch ESPN and the ESPN app.
Ahern Rentals is the largest independently owned and operated rental business in the United States. We are proud to maintain outstanding working relationships with over 100 manufacturers, including JLG, Skyjack, Genie, Kubota, Multiquip, Honda, and many more. From coast to coast, Ahern Rentals is here to service your equipment rental needs. For a complete list of locations near you, please visit us at www.ahern.com or call 1-800-400-1610.
NFC, AFC, offensive linemen, defensive tackles, quarterbacks, and cornerbacks are all living united to ensure the academic success of millions of kids in our communities all the way to graduation day. But that won't happen without you. So take the pledge at unitedway.org. Make a difference in the life of a child. Suit up like your favorite NFL players and become a volunteer reader, tutor, or mentor with United Way.
My life is full of statistics. Thing is, I could have dropped out of school and become one myself, but I didn't because I had people that believed in me. Here's another statistic. 7,000 students drop out every school day. That's one every 26 seconds. It's time that students know that we believe in them.
Inspire a student and share your message of support at boostup.org.
Really? Buzz, what's up, man? You left some leaves burning out here.
Yeah, I just came in just for a second.
Come on, man. If it's too hot to touch, it's too hot to leave. You could torch the whole neighborhood.
It's a good point. There's smoky.
9 out of 10 wildfires are caused by humans.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
There are a million places you'd never consider texting. So why would you do it while driving? Leave risky driving to the professionals. Stop the texts, and together we can stop the wrecks.
Simple Green U.S. Open of Handball, WPH Race for 8. As we are live here at Los Caballeros Sports Village. My name is Dave Vincent. Charlie Shanks did something that somebody in handball tried so many times before to do, and he defeated Paul Brady. It's been very rare, but it happened. And we were witnesses. Thanks for watching this Watch ESPN app. As we have this professional tour, Dave Fink, our sideline reporter, is around the grounds, and we'll be hearing from him.
Dave, I'm going to try and grab some of the legends here that are sitting in the crowd. Love to hear what they have to say sitting courtside. So stay tuned for that. I had Fred Lewis, and we're going to talk to him early in Game 2.
Okay. As many people as you want to talk to, get their perception of what took place. will do it, definitely. Court sounds, we'll be hearing that shortly as Charlie Shanks and our referee will be announced. And there it is, 0-0. Charlie kicks it off here. Paul Brady opting to hit that ball with his right hand because his left seems to be injured at the moment.
Dave, I'm courtside here with Fred Lewis, one of the greatest champions in the history of our sport. Fred, you've watched more handball than anyone. What happened there in the first game?
Well, I think it was pretty evident. Paul had a lot of uncharacteristic, unforced errors. He wasn't getting his first serve over, and as a result, he didn't put enough pressure on Charlie. When you don't pressure Charlie and he gets into his comfort zone, then he goes on a roll. And, you know, he was finishing the volleys. He was rolling balls out. Paul's shots, you know, stayed up. Charlie made some incredible gets. And as a result, you know, he was able to win that first game.
Well, winning one game is impressive against Paul Brady, but winning a match is another story. Can Charlie Shanks keep up this pace and win one more game?
Well, again, I think a lot of it has to do with Paul. You know, I want to see Paul get pissed off and get some intensity. I haven't seen it from him. You know, he's got to be able to finish shots just like he did. And, you know, if he can do that, then it's going to be interesting to see whether, you know, Charlie will revert back to what I've seen him do in the past, which is press, press, press. You know, and then he's not the same guy. So, you know, we'll just have to see how this works out. I mean, Paul has got to be able to finish the volley. If he doesn't finish it, he's going to keep Charlie in the volley, and when Charlie gets the setup, he's going to end the volley.
0-1.
Fred, I don't know if you know, but Paul Brady sustained some sort of thumb injury a couple of weeks ago. He has his thumb heavily wrapped. He's got some sort of soft cast on it. He doesn't seem to be able to swing with his left hand. Have you noticed that? And if so, how can he overcome that?
Well, what I'm noticing more, you know, you say the injury is with his left. I don't see him doing much with his right hand. I don't see him getting his first serve over, and I wasn't impressed with his second serve. He was giving this very hard Z, and Charlie was able to level off and kill the ball. So, you know, I don't think the problem is with his left. I think it's with his right, and he's got to be able to finish shots.
But when you have an injury to your left, does it start to compromise your overall game, even your right hand, because now you're pressing with your right?
That's a good point. Okay, that could be it. You know, it's hard to say. Not sure what, you know, what's going on in his head right now, but you know, I don't like his choice of shots. He's doubling the wall too much, catching the side wall. He's got to bring the ball down the wall and get Charlie out of his comfort zone, which he's not doing.
Fred, thank you very much. We're going to hopefully get to talk to you a bit more throughout the weekend, but for now, it's back to the booth. Dave.
Yeah, good insights from Fred Lewis, and looked like Paul Brady put it all together for that shot right there with his right hand. Fred Lewis, one of our greatest champions of all time. Paul Brady just recently passed Fred Lewis's title record, moving oh so close now to Nadi Alvarado Sr.'s all-time 11 national championships. Paul back down on the floor again. We've seen him dive a lot here. You see these aging players, they lose a step, they have to regain it. They have to go down to the floor on balls that they would have normally not dove for previously in their careers. Charlie's watching Paul put on a dive fest. We're all together at 3. I believe Paul Brady can put together all of those things that Fred Lewis was describing earlier.
Dave, that's about the 15th soft paddle left-handed kill we've seen Charlie Shanks execute in the last 2 days. It almost looks lucky, but you know it's not.
Well, it looked lucky the first time, and then when he started doing it 4, 5, 6 times after that, you now have to go back to video and see how you can make it part of your game, because he's obviously doing it on purpose.
Dave, I can't pass up this opportunity here. I'm next to the head referee and Handball Hall of Famer John Bike. John, also one of the all-time greats in this sport. John, Charlie Shanks shocking Los Caballeros here, taking down Paul Brady easily in game number 1. What'd you see there?
Well, I've seen him play the way he's capable of playing, but most importantly, he finished. He had a match like this a few years ago where he took that big first game lead and Paul reeled him in and closed him out quickly, but Charlie stayed right on top of it this time.
Second serve.
Can Charlie continue this pace? I mean, we saw him do it now for 1 game. That's the first game he's ever taken off Paul Brady. He needs to win 2, though.
Well, he's going to have to keep playing that well, and even if he does that, there's still that chance that Brady just does that thing that nobody can deal with. So it's a tough one to call.
3, serving 4.
Thanks, John. Dave.
Score here is 3-4. Paul Brady just 1 point behind early in game number 2 after losing the first one, 21-12. And that was an elite Paul Brady shot off the back wall. We're all together at 4 now. Dave Fink, our color analyst for ESPN, Watch ESPN app and the World Players of Handball, normally in the booth here, is out roaming the gallery and places beyond here at the Los Caballeros Sports Village in Fountain Valley, California. We'll be having him cut in at any time he feels he needs to, as he has players and fans and just hopefully a different perspective of this game as we see it live from the show court. And that was a huge miss for Charlie Shanks. He has to ward off Paul Brady. Paul being injured and able to score points against you is widely inflating. It could really work negative for you if you see a guy injured scoring points and you're giving him freebies on top of that. Normally this court very slick this time of day. We haven't seen any slide balls. And Paul, another elite corner kill. He's located that shot, Dave.
Well, it's like Fred Lewis just said, Paul's got to sustain some offense here and put the ball away. He wasn't able to do that in the first game. He's starting to find that right corner, and he's winning points when he does.
4. Point.
Charlie may be looking to take a timeout here, Dave.
7-4.
I think Charlie should take one if Paul scores right here. And there's that left-handed kill shot. And Charlie, did he take it, Dave?
Well, he's thinking about it. Usually, Dave, if you're thinking about it, you should take it because you're probably going to lose the next point thinking about that you should have taken the timeout. And he's asking for a slide. I didn't see it, Dave. I've got a great vantage point, too.
So, replay.
Oh, I didn't see that at all.
The referee said, I think I saw it skid. Now, could Paul Brady turn around and appeal that?
I think he should have, but, you know, Dave, that was a great reverse that Paul hit. Probably the best he's hit in the match, and it really was taken away from him.
The only reason why Paul wouldn't is because Paul probably saw it slide.
Second serve.
That's a great Z serve there. And now we will see a timeout from Charlie Shanks. Dave, I'm sitting next to Charlie's friend and physio, Paul Graham. Paul, tell us a little bit about that injury that Charlie had yesterday. You worked on it, and if that's still a concern here today.
He struggled with a groin injury, and it was more just tightness that he had. He didn't actually have the injury coming into the game. It was whilst he was in the game, he started feeling it a bit tight. And I think the way he was playing at the start, in the first game yesterday, everything was on top of him. He wasn't just feeling natural in his game. He didn't get warmed up, but the actual heat in the court helped a lot, helped his arm open up. And when he struggled with the leg, we just did a bit of work outside. Didn't take an awful lot now, to be honest, and a few stretches. And actually, you know, it was more his change of focus when he came back in. Even though the first game went to Emmett, towards the end of the first game, you seen the difference in his attitude, and it was really the change of attitude that turned the game around for him.
Well, speaking of attitude, I'm seeing a change of attitude right now in Charlie Shanks. It looks like his lower body's stiffening up. He doesn't have quite the confidence that he had in game number 1 right now.
Yeah. I think what he knew Paul would come out in the game 2. You know, Charlie would know that Paul wasn't fully up to speed in game 1. he knows Paul's going to come out going for it in game 2, and he's probably a bit tentative now, which naturally is probably stiffening up, as opposed to injuries or doubts. It's probably more Paul start hitting a run, and Charlie just has to keep with him. You know, but Paul, I don't think it would be fair to say that Paul wasn't in full flow in game 1.
Paul, thank you very much. I agree with you. And right now, Charlie is anything but full flowing. He looks completely out of sorts right now, Dave. And this now looks like a typical Paul Brady match. But remember, Charlie Shanks has 1 game in the bag. And even if he loses this game, he only needs to score 11 in a tiebreaker. I say only, but it's a lot closer than most have ever come.
Yeah, Paul Brady's playing exact opposite of the way he played in the first game. And this is the Paul Brady that we really built up in the pregame show and early on in the first couple points of that first game. This is the Paul Brady we've been talking about. When he is playing on all cylinders, he is lights out. And you can tell right now that there doesn't even seem to be an injury, Dave. I mean, you can't even see anything wrong with his hand, the way he's playing.
Well, particularly the way he's swinging now with his left. We saw him swing primarily stiff arm, trying to avoid that thumb. Now he's just ripping the ball with his left hand. It's changed everything. And Charlie Shanks seems to just have lost the swagger that he started the match with. And you see there, Dave, Charlie's very slow out of the gates there. He's tentative on the return. He thought about punching it down the wall, then changed his mind to go to the ceiling and just completely shanked it.
Short.
Dave, we're going to try and have Dana swing the camera back to catch some of these superstars that I'm interviewing. This point could be replayed. Yeah, well, it was replayed anyway.
The score here is 12-4.
Point.
Is there a certain point now, Dave, where Charlie is just going to say, I'll just play for 11 points instead of 17?
I think that point is right now. And what I don't like from Charlie right now, Dave, is not only his shot selection, which has gone from offensive to completely defensive, but he's also not moving his feet.
Point.
I also think, Dave, he's fatigued. I mean, he's got a lot of things going against him right now. Paul Brady's fired up. He's playing better. He's now tired.
Side out.
He's also got the intimidation factor. You know, you've played somebody 10 or 15 times and never won a game. Just because you won one doesn't mean all of a sudden all those demons are gone.
Side out.
And this is the Charlie Shanks that Fred Lewis was worried might show up here in this second game.
This is the men's semifinals. Paul has been feasting off that right corner here in game number 2, and it was a shot that he just could not hit in game number 1.
Well, you know, Charlie Shanks was in a perfect position. He couldn't have been in a better spot to hit a re-kill there, and his feet were just stuck into the floor. He tried to reach out, and he misses it. Second re-kill in the last 3 points. Both those shots he made in the first game with ease. And, Dave, I believe there is some tightness going on in the injury that he sustained yesterday. He just doesn't seem to be able to bend, and particularly when you're this tall, you have to have that flexibility and strength in your legs.
You're watching the Simple Green U.S. Open of Handball WPH Race for 8, stop number 1, men's semifinal. Charlie Shanks, Paul Brady, bottom bracket, upper brackets. Nadia Alvarado and Luis Moreno coming up next on ESPN, the Watch ESPN app. Courtesy of the World Players of Handball. My name is Dave Vincent. In the stands, color analyst Dave Fink, who's got the wireless mic. Has Mike will travel. And another point for for Paul Brady, and Charlie looks like he just hit a wall.
Yeah, well,
16-4.
Paul Brady wearing out the right corner now. He's doing it off the fly kill, off the bounce, off the back wall. It really doesn't matter. and Charlie has no answer for it. I think Paul knows now that Charlie's not moving well, and he's doing what he does, which is being the gunner. He's gunning balls into that right corner, and Charlie has no answer for it.
Short. Field called it short. Both agreed. Second serve.
That was an incredible serve, Dave, from Charlie Shanks.
Point.
And
Charlie.
sort of a strange second shot, but Dave, that serve hit and checked on a dime and rode the wall. Somehow Paul Brady got enough on it to return it.
5-16.
Oh, I like that shot from Charlie. He has this huge windup, Dave, and then he just takes a lot off. It's almost like throwing a changeup in baseball.
Well, on a changeup, you try and keep the same arm speed, but yes, I know what you're saying.
Well, he tried to decide. It was very deceptive. It came in really hard, like he was going to hit it hard.
Right.
It came out soft.
That's an amazing serve. Double bounces. Dave, I believe Charlie can serve down the left, and even if he hits the left side wall, Paul's not doing anything with it. He's hesitant to take that full swing when the ball comes off the left side wall. And you see Paul now setting up 4 consecutive Shanks serves and a flat kill from Charlie Shanks.
Is Paul Brady going to call a timeout? I mean, this second game's been all Paul Brady, and we started to write Charlie Shanks off, but look how he's playing now. Boy, another great serve, Dave.
Oh, Paul was fortunate that that ball caught the front wall, sidewall in a weird angle and sent Charlie Shanks into the back court. It was another perfect serve from Charlie Shanks, who's not known for his serve down the left, Dave, but right now he's hitting an unbelievable 75% pace reverse to the left.
Short. Second serve.
How many people do you think on the planet, Dave, could get that Charlie Shanks serve back to the front wall on the left-hand side? 7 billion
many,
people.
Dave, but let's pay attention to this argument here because Charlie Shanks is not happy. I don't know if you can get the replay up here, but I thought that was the right call. Charlie Shanks going the wrong way, and that ball straightened out. But he is not happy, Dave. I hope we don't have microphones on the court.
Well, here's the replay. Charlie goes wide to the right corner. Paul hits it right down the left. Referee says Charlie couldn't have got it. It didn't look like he could have gotten it.
Right, I agree.
On the replay. I'm not sure. Charlie was just maybe trying to buy a couple extra seconds of.
I think when Charlie saw the ball clip the side wall, he thought that meant he had a chance at it, but really it clipped the side wall and straightened out, which is unusual.
Point.
Also, Dave, Paul hit that shot down the wall because of where Charlie was standing. Not that that means anything, but it wasn't on accident.
I believe that serve was short, Dave.
It was, and it will be replayed. Charlie's going to have to appeal this, Dave.
Yeah, he is, though.
It will be overturned, right?
Actually, Dave, one of our linesmen saw that serve good.
That's unbelievable.
I really can't believe it.
I think everybody in the,
I can't believe it either.
everybody in the gallery saw that that was bad.
Well,
both players gave up during the rally.
Well, it's elementary at this point, Dave.
Game point, serves 8.
This game is just about to go to a tiebreaker. This match just about to be tied up, and now it is. And Dave, I am going to get a quick chat with Anthony Celesto, who's a top 16 pro and also the line judge here in this match.
Okay, we'll have that interview here as we are going to, I guess, stay local instead of going to a break. You're watching the WPH continued coverage of the Simple Green U.S. Open of Handball on ESPN, the Watch ESPN app. Paul Brady, the #1 player in the world, and Charlie Shanks in the bottom bracket semifinals. It was Shanks taking game number 1. And then Paul Brady coming back and really just dominating game 2. 21-8 is what the scoreboard should say, as Paul Brady takes down Charlie Shanks here in this game.
Dave, I am now here courtside with Anthony Celesto, who's one of the line judges here, also one of the top pros. Anthony, did you really expect Paul Brady to go down in 2 straight games after just a terrible first game?
Absolutely not. I was talking with a couple of fans in between games, and they had said that the only way Charlie can stay in this match is if he gets the first one, and that's what happened. And Paul, you saw the determination. You wonder why he's the 9-time world champion. It's because of those kind of things, how he just came back so satisfied, so eager to win that second match, and you saw him prevail that second game, and we'll see what the tiebreaker brings. So.
Well, Charlie looks very frustrated right now. He's jawing with the referee even 1 minute after this game just ended. Is that something that is going to help him going into this tiebreaker, or is he just wasting energy and wasting mental focus?
I always think that the players should just worry about their game and not worry about what the ref sees or calls, because everyone makes mistakes, and if it was the right call, it happens, and if it wasn't the right call, it happens. So you can't really look back and worry about what the ref has to say. If you focus on the game, and for Charlie's sake, I'd say that he's going to be okay in the finals, or the final match, final game to 11, only for the fact of he's not going to worry about that and just prevail. I think he's going to get this one.
We saw Paul Brady in a couple of tiebreakers last season, defeating Robbie McCarthy in New York in a match I believe you refereed in the finals there. He also defeated Luis Moreno in a tiebreaker in Denver, but then lost a tiebreaker to Armando Ortiz. As great as Paul Brady is, you get into a tiebreaker, his chances are not nearly as great as they are in a game to 21, because a game to 11, particularly a guy with a serve like Charlie Shanks, has an opportunity to get on a run and really put on the pressure and maybe pull off a huge upset.
I agree with you. Actually, Charlie Shanks, the way he was serving that first game, he was putting everything down, and a couple balls were triple bouncing before they got to the back wall. So if he can continue that hard serve and keep Paul on his toes and off balance a little bit, it could be a different game. So we'll see. And Paul, if he can keep his serve going, and you saw that the second game, it could be a battle royale for the final game here to 11. So we'll see. Hope for the best.
I believe that Charlie found something late in that second game, that soft reverse down the left. Paul set him up every time late in that game. If Charlie continues that serve, first of all, he has to get Paul out, because Paul's going to serve first. But if he can get that serve going, he definitely has a chance in that tiebreaker. Anthony, I want to thank you. We're going to let you get back to focusing on the game here. Dave, back to you.
Thank you very much. Dave Fink alongside one of our sideline referees, Anthony Celesto. Fink in the stands in the gallery there, giving us his analysis of what's going on between Charlie Shanks and Paul Brady. It was all Charlie in game number 1, defeating Paul Brady rather easily there, and it was something that we just have never seen. And then Paul Brady comes back and acts like the Paul Brady we've always seen, the same guy that has only lost 2 matches in 9 years. Game number 2 as Paul takes down Charlie Shanks 21-8. Now here in game number 3, we are going to see a battle. Who will make it to number 11 first? The first person to 11 points wins and will make it to the finals of the Simple Green U.S. Open of Handball. And it's all brought to you by Simple Green, as well as the World Players of Handball on the Race 4-8 Tour. And it's being streamed at ESPN, the Watch ESPN app. My name is Dave Vincent, alongside Dave Fink, who's roaming the grounds, sometimes in the booth, sometimes out, with a different perspective. And we appreciate the fact that he's given us that opportunity. Referee said 5-minute break. We've chewed up about 3.5 to 4 minutes of that. And we were going to take a break, but I think, Dave, we'll just stay right here in the right here. And, hopefully you either have another interview or we can just talk a little bit more about what we saw go on there with Paul Brady and Charlie Shanks.
Well, Dave, as a matter of fact, I do have another interview. National champion, I believe world champion, Chris. Okay, well, I'm gonna give it to you for the sake of this interview. Chris Watkins here. Chris, you've been around handball almost your whole life. This is a thriller right here. We definitely didn't expect to see Paul Brady come out and lose that first game. He comes out and asserts himself there in the second game. Anything can happen in a tiebreaker.
Yes. Well, Charlie looked incredibly strong yesterday. And so he continued that momentum in that first game and his strength. And then Paul was able to kind of take a little bit off his speed, throw a nice reverse into the left, get things settled down. Charlie started to maybe mentally check out that second game a little bit, stretch the lead. Maybe a timeout should have been called. Maybe he's just getting in his head, I got to win a game and a half. I'm going for the breaker.
Who's going to have more nerves going into this tiebreaker? Paul Brady's got his legacy. Of course, he's only lost 2 matches in 9 years. Charlie Shanks has never beat Paul Brady, but some would say, well, maybe he has nothing to lose going into this tiebreaker. I mean, Paul Brady's got more experience. Charlie Shanks, maybe not quite as much pressure.
As a champion, it's harder to hang on, and Charlie's pretty much accomplished everything he's wanted to in handball, and he's got this last notch to do. Had a nice layoff from handball, is fresh. This is his chance. This is the best shot he has to do it today.
Well, we're going to find out in just about 15 minutes what's going to happen. I can't wait. Chris, I want to thank you, and I'll let you get back to your seat and enjoy this tiebreaker. Thanks. Dave.
Yeah, we'll certainly find out the result in 15 minutes, but we can watch it play out in real time. It's a great reality series, this sport of handball, because we get to watch it and all the drama unfold as it does. And there's already been drama in this match. I mean, you had Paul Brady come out. He looked really sharp for about 3 points, and then all of a sudden the bottom fell out. And Charlie Shanks was incredibly hot, the same Charlie that we saw yesterday in game number 2 and 3 against Emma Peixoto in the quarterfinals. And then Paul Brady turned right around and said, no, that's not the way I normally play. This is the Paul Brady that you're used to. And now we're got some contrasting things going on. We have that Charlie Shanks that we know that can step into the court and play like he does. And then we have that Paul Brady who's currently proving it. So which one's going to show up in the tiebreaker? A little bit of drama there. Also, there seems to be some injuries on both sides. Paul Brady had what we thought was an injured left hand. His right wasn't working, though. And then Charlie Shanks, we know, was injured with a groin strain and then a bad back and hip. We saw him with the masseuse, and we've overplayed that discussion as well. So we've got injured players, momentum changes, long streaks, crazy play.
Serving 0.
One thing we can say, Dave, as we get ready for game number 2 here, is the referee really hasn't played a factor. So at least that part's good.
Well, I don't think either game has been close enough thus far, but like I said, Charlie was chirping at our referee at the end of that second game, and you know, he was never really in that second game, so it's kind of strange
0-0
in that sense.
Short.
Ball sounded like it broke.
This could be a big advantage here, Dave, for Paul. Serving with the new ball in the tiebreaker could very well run a few points. We'll see.
Paul Brady and Charlie Shanks here in a tiebreaker. Let's say that Paul Brady goes on to win this. Does Charlie say, well, I took Paul to a tiebreaker?
No, I think it'll be devastating for him. I really do. You know, people say, oh, I'd rather get blown out than lose 11-9 in a tiebreaker, but at this point in Charlie's career, having lost to Paul so many times and never even won a game, he knows this is maybe going to be his best chance. And I really feel like this would be a very crushing loss
0-0
for either guy. That's Charlie Shanks.
Wow.
That's his best shot. That's what he has to do.
0-0.
Charlie told me yesterday in that interview, I asked him outright, how come you're so good at that revolving door shot? And he said, it's just something I was always good at, and then I just started to practice it even more. I just feel so good. Every time I see it, I know what I'm going to do with it. Look how pure he is off balls that hit side walls.
That was another
It's revolving
door.
when he steps back and hits it differently, but it's still the same thing that he's been practicing, he said, his whole life.
1-0.
He said, I was always good at it, and then I got better. Oh, he almost dips that in. It would have been 2-0 with Shanks serving. Now he's returning the serve, 0-1. Sometimes you need a little luck in this game too, Dave. It'll hold your momentum.
That's true.
Charlie, wow, gets right back into it.
I've always felt, Dave, that
sometimes it's more difficult as a player when you lose the first game, but you win the second game so easily, and then you come into the third game and you're playing a completely different opponent. Because 5 minutes ago, Charlie Shanks was offering almost no resistance. Now all of a sudden, he's back to the same guy that he was in the first game.
This is one of those matches that no matter who wins,
wow,
Dave, it is just exhausting. You know, the winner is going to be exhausted, and we're only in the semis.
2-0.
Well, this is what tournament handball is all about.
Short.
Charlie up 2-0 in the breaker. This
Second.
is what you train for right here. Oh, nice shot. That takes a lot of moxie right there from Charlie Shanks.
Paul Brady hasn't done anything in this tiebreaker. Charlie Shanks already with 4 kills. Paul Brady just kind of pedestrian thus far. Charlie hasn't given him a chance.
3-0.
Remember, Dave, on this court, 2007 in the final, Paul Brady trailing 7-2 in the tiebreaker.
I didn't see it.
He hit that crazy overhand left shot that either skipped or just barely hit the front wall first. It was replayed. He then trailed 10-7, came back and won 11-10.
Point.
Not a good shot there from Charlie.
1-3.
Boy, Charlie gets one right back on that amazing serve, and Paul cannot get out of that box. I thought that serve was going to get appealed.
Love to go to that camera that's courtside there, Dave. Get right inside the court.
3-1.
Well, you got it. Stopwatch said 0.08.
Wow.
Second.
You ask, you shall receive.
I love this angle. This is amazing.
Look how many people are. Don't let the fire department see this video. Underhand paddle shot from Paul Brady. Right down the middle. Paul's going to set up, throw it back. Oh, and Charlie goes for it.
That's about the easiest shot that Charlie Shanks could have had right there. He put the wrong spin on that ball, Dave. He'd need to get over top of that ball so the ball would hit the side wall and take off towards the front wall. But a slight miss hit on the side of his hand, and that's why it hits the side wall and comes straight down.
Well, if you are going to take a shot like that, make sure you're serving, and Charlie was. So it's just a side out as opposed to a loss of a point. This would be a big setup for Paul. He just hits it in the wrong spot.
Wow.
How in the world does Paul have that huge setup down the middle? He's standing dead center in the court, and Charlie gets the ball back.
I don't know if you're giving Charlie's pickup ability enough credit. I mean, these balls are moving so fast, and he's able to get his hand on them and return them. I think that's a sign of tension, though, for Paul, that instead of trying to hit the kill, he's just trying to power the ball right at Charlie's feet, hoping that Charlie makes an error. Charlie thus far has the steady hand.
3-1.
Wow, nice shot. Charlie Shanks at 4-1 in the breaker.
4-1.
Score is 4-1. Charlie Shanks trying to get to 11 before Paul does. Paul squeaks it up front. Charlie dives in. Paul goes with a overhit return. Oh, and Paul gets that elite underhand paddle kill. That was an amazing shot from Paul Brady. Charlie staying up front there. Looking for a towel is Charlie Shanks. You're watching ESPN and the Watch ESPN app, the continued coverage from the World Players of Handball at the Simple Green U.S. Open of Handball on the Race for 8 Tour. This is stop number 1 on the men's elite as well as women's elite Race for 8 Tour, professional handball organized tournament schedule that they have. Next stop, Tucson, Arizona, a couple weeks. Some of these players are sticking around and will not fly back home. They'll just go train. Paul Brady being one of those. Finds himself down here 1-4 in the tiebreaker, going to 11.
Serving 4.
Oh, look at that shot, Dave. Wide corner kill, right side.
Paul said, I've got that revolving door kill as well.
2-4. Short.
Jesus.
Second. We got to replay it. He took a half swing, safety swing.
Boy, that's
Gave
not
you a
just a
shot,
replay,
too.
Dave, but that almost is an avoidable. Charlie's arguing this, but I really don't know why Charlie would even come close to arguing that.
It was not a clean swing.
Paul wanted to take a full swing, couldn't do it, kind of held up, looked at the referee. Charlie's arguing that referee called it late, but really Charlie was in Paul's way. Should have been called an avoidable, if anything. Look at how many people are in this crowd.
I stepped on 10 heads to get to one interview, but when you've got that wireless mic, Dave, you can do whatever you want. Took full advantage of it. Kind of a half swing there, Dave. Didn't commit to that shot. Tried to will that one and hope it into the right corner.
4-2.
We're at 4-2 here in the tiebreaker. Boy, Charlie can pepper that ball. And somehow both of these guys are able to get those lasers back, and they overplay, it seems like. Sometimes way above that dotted line, their reflexes have to be just spot on.
Point.
Both guys have missed back wall setups by just a couple of inches.
Three, 4.
Uh-oh.
Point.
Paul Brady now ties this one at 4. Charlie's going to probably call a timeout soon. And there it is.
Timeout. Charlie, that's your first. Score is 4-4.
Well, Dave, if you said to Charlie Shanks at 8 o'clock this morning, would you take 4-4 in the tiebreaker? I think he'd say yes.
Well, Charlie's one of those guys that say, how am I feeling? How's my hip? How's my back? Am I doing okay? Is my serve working? You know, yeah, you're probably right. Everybody would love to be 4-4 with Paul Brady in a tiebreaker with, you know, a few hundred fans watching courtside. I mean, that's the most that you could even get into this facility. But how is he feeling? When you see Paul hit that wide corner kill and Charlie not get out of the box, that was very reminiscent of game number 2, where you say Charlie looks like he might be getting tired here.
Well, I'll tell you, Dave, Paul's corner kills are so sharp, they make players look like they're not getting out of the box, but they just hit so hard with so much angle that you really can't get to them. I mean, most corner kills, if you get off to a good start and you anticipate it, you're able to get to them unless they're not flat rollouts. But Paul hits them with this sharp, crazy angle with an unbelievable velocity. They're just gone. They're away from you. And, you know, it might appear that Charlie's slow out of the gates, but it's just the way he hits. I've never seen someone hit a corner kill with that kind of pace that generates that angle. It just skids away from you before you can even move.
together at 4 here in the tiebreaker, going to 11. Winner will be in the finals of the Simple Green U.S. Open of Handball, streaming live at Watch ESPN
Short.
and the Watch ESPN app.
Second.
I like that shot.
Point.
Some would say that was like an overhit. Paul seemed like he methodically hit it in that right position. Now at 5-4.
5-4.
Charlie tracking everything Paul's doing down. Paul goes to that elite corner that you're talking about. Charlie dives in, doesn't get it, and the 6th point is on the scoreboard. And Charlie staying down for an extended amount of time here.
Well, as badly as Charlie wants to win, and I can assure you it's about as much as he's ever wanted to win anything, if your conditioning doesn't hold up, it just doesn't matter. I think he's lost about 10 to 15% of his first step, and he's just not able to track down these kill shots that he was in game number 1. Charlie Shanks had his best opportunity to win this event in 2011, lost to Robbie McCarthy in an 11-9 tiebreaker. That was a heartbreaker. I doubt he's thinking about that right now because it's a totally different circumstance. This is Paul Brady. It's the semifinals.
6, serving 4.
And of course, Paul Brady has won 11-10 here and lost 11-10 here.
Short.
On this court.
Second.
2007 win, 2008 loss.
Should be a good, easy shot for Paul, and excuse me, for Charlie, and he gets it. That ball that goes down the revolving door, you can just sort of throw your poker chips on the table before he hits it and say, yeah, I'll put it out there. No odds.
4, serving 6. Short. Second.
Oh, that ball just died over there.
I think it was solely on
I think these guys are so used to seeing the ball slide.
You saw a slide? You did not see a slide?
That ball doesn't.
Slide,
it
so
actually
we're gonna
checks.
Call it a side out. It was the angle of how it hit the crack, so it had nothing to do with the slide, I believe, and would agree with me. So that's a side out.
Anthony's a very good line judge, Dave. He's very much in tuned to everything that's happening. So if he doesn't see it, I can assure you that it probably didn't happen.
6-4.
Didn't happen.
Well, it did. That ball definitely did something weird, though, Dave. Can't deny that.
Love that front wall camera angle. Wish I could see it more.
Replay.
That ball hits Paul. Paul not only gets in Charlie's way, but he looks like a linebacker knowing that he's going to get hit.
6-4.
Sixers war. Oh.
Point.
That ball just died back there. Charlie
Well,
could have taken one step back, but
7-4.
he thought it was going to come out. I think he lost his distance. 7-4.
Needed to take that step back.
Look how high that ball's bouncing.
Oh, Charlie has to make that shot, Dave. And I believe you can circle and square and every other shape you can think of right there, because that was Charlie's opportunity. Get into the box at 4-7, now trailing 8-4 and receiving. I just, Dave calculated the odds. Paul Brady, 94% from 8-4 with a serve.
Second serve.
I'd like to see your matrix on that calculation.
Happy to show it to you.
Not with Charlie, the way he has been playing.
97%.
Boy, that ball just stayed in. Charlie's going to maybe call another timeout. Charlie's blaming that.
On that sidewall, I did not see a ball slide.
Charlie's going for slide calls here and just not getting them. Now 9-4.
9-4.
And will Paul Brady, if he scores these last couple points, will there be any emotion?
99%.
Dave, will there be emotion? It's more like 100%, by the way.
No, I think it'll be a single-handed fist pump, not the double arm raise. The double arm raise is saved for finals, close wins only.
Second serve.
And there it is. Paul Brady goes down.
Paul Brady.
Goes downtown and gets that final point to take down Charlie Shanks here in the tiebreaker. He will make it to the finals once again at the Simple Green U.S. Open of Handball and the WPH Race for 8 Tour. Not sure if we're going to have an interview with him, but I'll tell you right now, if we were to have one, and you know this firsthand, there are so many people in this facility trying to sneak a peek. I don't know how you could even get into that court to talk to Paul Brady, but certainly if we are going to be able to do it, we'll try. There's no doubt about that. We're going to stay right here with hopes that we can work our way into a Paul Brady interview. I'm not sure if it is going to happen or not, but there's been a lot of things that have transpired so far today. This first semifinal match, Paul Brady came out on fire, then it looked like he got injured, and then all of a sudden the tables turned, and Charlie Shanks played the best handball we've ever seen Charlie Shanks play, and then he takes down Paul Brady in game number 1. I'm not sure if Charlie's ever defeated Paul Brady before, but it certainly happened there in game number 1. Then Paul came out of the blocks in game 2 and acted like he didn't have an injury. I know we're in the land of where a lot of actors live, so maybe Paul is auditioning for a part. He played remarkable, the same Paul Brady that has won 9 times out of the 9 years in a row and only lost twice. And then he played great there in that second game, and then a tiebreaker. Paul Brady closes it out. Dave Fink has Paul Brady courtside. Let's go to him briefly, Dave.
Oh, what's going through your mind? First game, you dropped 21-12. It looked like you were out of sorts, maybe even a little bit injured, had some kind of thumb problem.
No, it's just a little bone bruise, nothing. I suppose Charlie was playing well, and I felt a bit flat, but I just kept telling myself, just stick at it, it'll come, So it's been a few months since competition, so each round has loosened me a bit more, so I'm looking forward to the final tomorrow.
Did you make any big changes in between the first and second game, because you were a completely different player in game 2 and game 3 than you were in game number 1?
I just, like I say, I was a bit flat maybe, and I just decided to up the intensity a bit. I've played Charlie many times, and it's obviously hard to keep motivating yourself to play the same players over the years and try to beat them again and again. It's quite difficult. There's always going to be a day where they kind of get hot, and so Charlie was playing really well today. So I just decided I had to up the intensity, or I was going to lose. So it was just a mental shift more than anything, just to up.
Are you an interested spectator in the next match? Do you care who you play next? It's either going to be Luis Moreno, who beat you here in 2008, gave you a couple of really good matches over the last couple of years, or it'll be Nadia Alvarado, who you played in the finals here in the first ever U.S. Open in 2006.
Yeah, I'll just watch, obviously. A little bit of it. I'll go and get showered now and just stretch down and relax for a while. But obviously I'll watch a bit of it. But it's going to be tough no matter who at this level. Everybody you play is tough. So you just got to be. I got to focus on myself and get myself ready. See where that takes me.
It's cliche, but do you have a preference? Would you rather play Moreno or Alvarado?
Obviously, you want to play a 40-year-old Natty. But he's going to have his work cut out. Luis is playing really good, so I would expect Luis to win. But Natty upset Abraham yesterday, so you never know. It's his home court, his home crowd, so he's going to be tough to beat. But obviously, you'd expect the 26-year-old Luis Moreno to beat the 40-year-old Natty Alvarado. But it doesn't matter. Like, no matter who it is, it's going to be tough. So, like I said, I just got to focus on a few things I need to improve on for tomorrow. The real test start today and tomorrow, so I've got to really up it for tomorrow.
Paul, I want to thank you for a great show. You always give us such an amazing show. Great to watch you. I'll let you go ahead and cool down, enjoy the rest of this match, and we'll look forward to watching you tomorrow morning. Thanks, Paul. Dave.
Great interview there from Paul Brady and Dave Fink. As we are going to take a quick break, we'll be back for that second semifinal match. Luis Moreno going up against Nadia Alvarado Jr. here on ESPN, the Watch ESPN app. It's the Simple Green U.S. Open of Handball, WPH Race for 8, Tour Stop number 1. We'll be back for Dave Fink, Linda Manning, Chris Garrad, and those that are helping out with this live broadcast. My name is Dave Vincent. Stick around. More action coming up next on ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports.
Get a remarkable clean with non-toxic and biodegradable Simple Green all-purpose cleaner. Use straight from the bottle on heavy grime or dilute the concentrated formula to make up to 44 bottles of daily cleaner. Safe for all washable surfaces, Simple Green can be used indoors and out. From kitchens and bathrooms to living and play areas, countertops and floors to furniture and clothing. Keep your home and our world clean with Simple Green.